Right, first thing I found in the manual is it does show the springs behind the shoes, which is as I suspected. So there's the spring at the bottom of the two shoes. There's the spring at the top, which goes onto the post on the adjuster and then across to the back plate. Okay, and on the back plate, just close that for a second. We've got a post for the spring to attach to, and on the back of the shoe, we have also got a post for the spring, which goes against the adjuster. So we know which shoes go which side. What we don't know is which cylinder goes which side. Now, some of you are just saying it doesn't actually fucking matter. As long as you're making the pipes up to a custom, so maybe it doesn't matter. But I think when it comes down to the adjuster, it is probably quite important to get the adjuster on the right shoe. I think what I'm going to end up having to do here is actually search for a photograph of the part number for the back plate. So if I look at the back plate here, the back plate, the one I want to be looking for is 515405, and I don't know which one that one is, which is very helpful. They could have actually written on there that, oh yeah, that one is 515405. Nothing. It's going to be a Google, folks. It's going to be a Google. I suspect the official workshop manual might go into a bit more detail than Mr. Haynes did. But like I say, I've got the parts manual here. Right, phone, here we are. I couldn't find many 515405s, which is what I think this one is, so I then googled the 515406, which is the near side left-hand back plate, and that's one there that is displayed at John Craddock's. Now, initially I thought, oh shit, what's that? But when I zoom in on it, that's the adjusting nut, so we're looking at the back of it. We're looking at the back of the back plate, if you get my drift. So that then would be right, so it would be the opposite of this one. And what else have we got here? We've got this one here, which is a front or rear back plate, series and lightweight. £87, crikey. That was not very good. This one's better looking. So this is a back plate from Safari Engineering, used old stock, 515406. Can I go in? I can zoom in. There's the adjuster. It's on the opposite side to this one. So I'm quite confident now that this is the right hand 515405 back plate. These things are a piece of piss to build up. I think what we need to do, we need to get nuts. Am I going to use new nuts or am I going to use the old nuts? Let's get the shoes out. We know which way around the shoe goes. There's the pin on there, it's got to go against the adjuster. So the shoe goes like that, which is fabulous. These back shoes don't have the bolts to push them out. Now, the other thing that was interesting on this was that the shoe had the ring on this side, on the adjuster side. And again, I've got no idea. There's the bolts, there's the nuts. Just take those two. Find out what size they are. If I've got new ones, I'll put them on. Probably going to be N8 or something like that, I would have thought. There you go, not N8. 5/16 UNF. Got to love Land Rovers of this age because they use just about every fixing system known to mankind on these cars. Pretty sure somewhere on the original spec car there'll be Whitworth. I wonder what size that is. I don't know. I'm going to go for my standard rule, because UNF and M10 are very, 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 very close. But the rule number one is that an M10 male fixing, this one, will not fit into a UNF female fixing. There's a UNF female fixing, M10 male fixing, won't go. Other way round, it will. So if I get an M10 female fixing and a UNF male fixing, they will go, but they're wobbly as fuck. Okay, so it's important you get it the right way around. So I always start with an M10 fixing. Does the M10 go in there? No, it doesn't. So the M10 does not go in there. It goes in half a turn, then it stops dead. So they are UNF. So I put M10 back in there. Now, does UNF go in there? That's a bit of a dodgy UNF. Oh, sorry, that was stripped off. What on earth? That's going to go to recycling. That's what happens when you chuck shit back into your box, Richard. Right, so we'll go for a UNF fixing into Nice snug fit, not wobbly, backing beautiful that. It'll have to be a longer fixing than that though, because it bottomed out in there. And while I've got the thing apart, it does make sense just to find out which ferrule you're going to use. I'm going to go with that one because it just about bottoms out. It's not quite seated, so when the bubble is on the end of that, that'll be perfect. So that can go in there, even though it's got a metric head on this bleed nipple. I'm going to imagine that it's UNF. It's neither shit nor apples though, really, is it? So let's pop the back plate on. Now there was no springs or washers or anything on this, and in all honesty there's not a huge amount of room to put a spring or a washer in there. What does the parts manual say? Parts manual says it has spring washers on it, so let's go and get my box of spring washers. I'll take the brake pops away. The brake pops. Spring washers. Wish it was spring. The whole of winter to go through yet. That's nice. And then we've got nuts, tighty sidey on that side. The loosey sidey on that side. Sorry, is that right? Yep, that's right. Up. I'll take that ferrule out of there. I'll pop it back in later on. The reason being is I'm about to tip this thing up the other way, and I really don't want to get crap inside the slave. So I'll pop the nice little bung back in, into there. And then that goes down. Don't ask me what the torque setting is for these. Tight, I think is the answer. One thing I've not double checked yet is that this adjuster turns. So, God knows what size it is. It's not 14 or 9/16. Oh. More and more crap on the bench. Put that up there. Put that there, put that up there, put that on there. 9/16. Does it turn? Wants to, it jolly well wants to. It does turn. Now, because of the disasters we had with the front adjusters, and looking at the state of this spring here, I'm inclined to take this thing off. I'll just double check. Start by undoing the nut that holds the adjuster together. And I would expect the adjuster, the cam tail thing, to stay in place. So, if it does stay in place, I'll just double check that the nuts and everything are in the correct order. It does stay in place. More or less gone down as far as it's going to go as well. Not a bad job, that one. Right, now what I did have on my phone was the beer mat instructions. Found it. It's the PDF file. It's RTC 3176 on the Paddock's website, and it shows you how to do this. So, okay, so we've got short wheelbase models, front and rear adjusters. And it shows them in nut, spring, template washer, cam, black cam. I think that's right. I think that is right. It's always worthwhile double checking these things though, because there's a number of different applications. You've got applications here for long wheelbase 6-cylinder petrol, diesel, front adjuster, 3-inch wide shoe, blah de blah de blah, long wheelbase, etc, etc, etc. So I'm looking at figure 1, which is short wheelbase model, front and rear adjusters. Smear some grease on the spline shoulder of the new pin, insert through hole in the back plate, slide on spring, silver spacer with the undercut facing outwards, yellow washer. I'm using 2 suitable spanners. Locate the black cam, I think it actually says back cam, onto the hardened splines using the self-locking bolt provided. Now, when they say self-locking bolt, they just mean a normal bolt, which is just got some thread lock on it, typically. So that just wants tightening up again, I think. I'll tell you one thing though, I'm not going to break wind this time. This cam's on the wrong way round. You look at that cam there, yeah, and then you look at that cam there, which is the same orientation, and then you look at this cam, this one's on upside down. That was on right. Fucking hell. Oh my god, I can't cope anymore. Oh, fuck's sake. Let's get the jimmy underneath it. This thing should just pop off. Sometimes they do, sometimes I get a spanner on. There we are. That's off. But it has got a yellow washer underneath it, which is nice, isn't it? And we'll see if we can locate it like this. So let's just have a quick look. While this is apart, we might as well lube the fucker up. It has been lubed, at least. It's got some form of rusty water on it, I think. I use copper grease. I know copper grease, you can see how far the cam had gone onto this. It hadn't gone all the way down to the base. So we've got all of these splines still to go. We'll try and lock it in place. If it doesn't lock in place, then I've got new ones that I can put on. Again, I think that someone's just kind of done a bit of guessing when it's come to this. So a nice bit of lube. In you go. Then we've got Springy McSpringface, which is on the piss, but we'll see if it works. We've got the top hat kind of washer, got the yellow thingy, and then we've got the black cam, which I want to put on this way round. And then got the big nut. Oh, yeah, because I'm going to take this bolt out again afterwards, and I'll thread lock it. Then it means, at least kind of when you're trying to tighten your drums up, and every single one of these drums, by the way, haven't been adjusted properly. Right, so just locating it onto the end, the tip of the spline, and I think it's there. And then we will give it some beans. Because the cam is actually quite soft, and the shaft is hardened. Well, to my mind, that spring is already looking more compressed than it was before. Does it turn? Yes, it does turn. Right, now let's take the nut out again, the bolt out again, I should say. Get the right words in here, Richard. Then I'll help. Right, yeah, it's kind of gone on almost as far. I don't know if I can get that to go down any further. So if I tap it, it's just going to come straight off again, isn't it? Oh, it's working. I want to make sure it's actually on the spline. So, bucket, it's happening. bit of thread lock stuff, Loctite 243, this stuff I use in here. It's not going to come apart again, I hope. Bom, 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 bom. Just going to go back up. Right, now let's give it some heave ho, get it in. Still turning, getting tight, pretty tight now. Right, I think that's going to be okay. I think that adjuster now turns quite happily. Put it down into a low position, i.e. shoes being right in. Now, please get these shoes on now. So adjust the pistons here. I'm not going to take the pistons out, don't need to. One thing I have checked, and you should do this, don't generally find the problem with the Delphi Lockheed stuff. Other products I have had problems with. One cylinder certainly did not have the big spring in the middle. And there should be a giant spring right in the middle of this thing. It looks almost exactly like this, that pushes the two pistons apart again. It's quite important to have the giant spring in there. And as I say, I've seen them without. Post is there, pin is there. So just get the shoes roughly in the right sort of place to start off with. And just make sure everything's going to line up. There's nothing worse than wrestling with the springs and then finding, oh shit, the piston's all wrong. Right, there we go. So then we've got two springs. Look reasonably new. The long spring there goes onto the back plate up here. Now, which way up does it go? Because, and there is a reason why I say this, is you've got a bolt there, and you kind of want it to get past the bolt, but I'm wondering if it has to go that way, because that needs to go past the adjuster. So let's pop that on there. Take that off there, take that off there, put that on there, stretch this back out there, under the adjuster, into the end of the cylinder, onto the drum. Now, how are we looking there? Right, okay, so there's enough room for the spring. It actually sits on top of the top hat washer there. If it went on the other way around, it would actually interfere with the adjuster. Okay, so it has to go on that way round, which kind of matches the way it come off. Now we've got the other spring, which needs to go onto that hole and that hole. We'll pop them in there, and then comes the fun bit. So putting the other shoe on, because we've done the kind of the one with the adjuster on it. That was easy. Attach the spring onto the other shoe. Put the other shoe into the pivot at the bottom of the back plate. And rotate around, you've got all of this kind of like movement here, pop it into the other piston, and then you can push the pistons together. It should centralise. Okay? That's those shoes on. It is so much easier doing this without the stub axle, without the hub and everything in place. If you do this with the hub in place, yeah, it's possible. But while this thing's all apart, it just makes sense, so much sense, to pop these things back together again. As they are. Now, the other thing I've got to do now is pop this fella back on. It's the retaining thing for the shoes. Now, it came off that way around. I can tell it came off that way around because the threads are in these holes here. Because basically, well, let's demonstrate. So let me get the socket on the adjuster. and we'll adjust the shoes out. Well, it is adjusting out, but I don't know. You tell me. Tell me, which one should that be on? It's easy enough to swap it over. Weird, huh? Found it! On the short wheelbase models, remove the anchor plate securing the trailing shoe to the pivot post. See figure 9.3. Figure 9.3. Anchor plate, there we are, 9, which is the anchor plate for the brake shoe. It actually shows it on the leading shoe, but you can understand the pissing confusion, can't you? I mean, everything's back to front on this thing, because it shows the adjuster pin there, the post there. It's the wrong back plate on this picture. How weird's that? Land Rover, you ham-fisted gibbons. This is similar. This is where they got the picture from. Look, this is the parts manual. It shows the post which actuates against the cam, and it's got the post on the back plate, and they've displayed it the wrong way round. It does explain how people manage to fuck this up though, doesn't it, really? But it's important to get it the right way round. So, just for clarity, 9.4, braking system, section 3 of the braking system, point number 8, on short wheelbase models, remove the anchor plate securing the trailing shoe to the pivot post. Problem fixed. Lunch. Trailing shoe, leading shoe. Leading shoe's got the cam on it. Right, these stub axles, I've been over them with a wire, a copper brush. They're not the best, they really are not. There's some really heavy pitting on that face where the seal runs. So I think I'll investigate, check whether these are available new of a reasonable quality. Maybe I'll replace them. As you can see, I pressed the new studs in on the hubs. And then the next thing I did was drain the oil out of the sump. Now, interestingly, that was the drain plug. It's not magnetic, but there's an incredible amount of sloop on the back end of it, and that's the oil that come out of it. Relatively clean, but there are some worrying lumps in there. Whether it's metal or not, I don't know yet. So let's position you over here. There we are, end of the rattling. Get the magnet. Right, clean magnet. Let's just see what this crap is on here. There's right gloop on there. I don't know if it's just gloop or whether it's magnetic gloop. Really could have used a piece of towel, Richard, couldn't you? Now, what have we got in there? That's just gloop, which is good. So on there is just gloop. Anything in there? Yeah, there's metal filings in this. Look, it's lifting the gloop off. I'll put the gloop back down again. And then as I put the magnet towards it, so there's quite a lot of metal filings in this gloop. You can see it will be sucked towards the magnet. Could it go? Oh dear. Right, okay, so we've got metal gloop in the gloop. Trouble is the plug is metal as well. Let's scrape this off onto something plastic. In fact, I've got a wooden spatula to do exactly that. Another one of my lollipop sticks. So scrape all this shit off here. I've ordered another drain plug because God knows what is going on with this thing. Right. I'd say there's a fair element of metal in that gloop. Look at it go. Ready? So something's gone wrong here. There's a fair amount of metal in there. Now, what's going on in the oil next? Let's clean this crap up because I don't want to put my arm in it in a second. I wanted to find out what's... This thing was finger tight, by the way, this plug. There's no way you could do it up, and it was finger tight. That is a magnet in the end there, isn't it? Yes. So there is a magnet in there, but no way. Well, there are flats on it, but I couldn't get anything onto it to undo it, and then found it was finger tight anyway. Magnetic sump plug, and woo, kind of proves the point, doesn't it? Anyway, I've established what the root cause is. That's like a giant lump of wire there. It just came out of that oil. It's a shard of something, isn't it? This is all what I'm getting out of the oil as well. It's like a thread has been torn apart. Two pieces there now. Yeah, bugger, 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 bugger. And it's out. Right, okay, diff casing's out. You can see the diff is out of the diff casing as well. They're dead easy to get out, these things. They really are. I've supported the axe chassis on the centre chassis kind of cross member under the gearbox. It seems stable enough. I'm not going to go near it. Undo the rear shackles, drop the axle down after I've undone the U-bolts, undo the dampers, drop shaft obviously came off. Then I can drag it out. Amusingly, one of the U-bolts look like that, the other one looks like that. I've got some new U-bolts to put on. It makes life so much easier having one of these impact wrenches. There's no commercial interest in this whatsoever. I bought this from the Mac van. Fantastic, I love it. It is brilliant. Just in case, because people love these things, and I'll probably do a review on it. This is DCF 901 Type 1 brushless impact wrench on a 1/2-inch drive. It wasn't cheap, but it is brilliant. Now the diff is now on the bench and the storm is coming in. This whole thing, let's use my pencil here, has got swarf all over it. Every single tooth has got bits of swarf in it. So I really don't know. I don't know what's failed. There's a huge amount of backlash on it, which I can feel there, but it's easier doing it normally. So what I might do is just end up taking this thing apart. If I can take the crown wheel and pinion out, and we'll do it from that point onwards. It's fairly easy taking these things apart. It's not the end of the world, but I need to find out what it is that's failed. As I go around here, you look in the gaps between the teeth, and any of those lumps are little bits of metal. And there's quite a lot in there. I got the engineer's blue out because I was going to do a just check to see what the mesh is, because it could well be that this is a historic or hysterical problem that's occurred prior to kind of this diff being fitted. As far as I can see, it's a Range Rover diff. I pulled the diff apart. It's all apart. The diff is apart. And I haven't really found anything other than acres and acres of swarf. So, let me just balance this up here. Clatter, 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 clatter. You can see my heater in the background. That's my heater over there, which provides a little bit of warm air across the desk. So here we've got the differential casing. I've knocked all of the bearings out of it. Obviously everything is out of it, it's just a bare casing now. Oh no, drain plug still in it. So it's a bare casing and a drain plug. So there's that. Here's the Sun and Planet gear carrier. It's lovely. The only real signs of nastiness in here are because of oil contamination, and it was around That's the pinion there. The bench is dirty, it's all going to get cleaned, don't worry. None of this stuff is going to go back together again without it being extensively cleaned. And to be honest, I think it's probably not entirely going to go together. Now, here we've got, here's one of the planet gears. And you can see a ring around the edge of that. Okay, contamination in the oil, I think. And then we've got the other one, which is horrific. It's got quite a lot. And it's a really nasty surface on that. But again, that's not what's provided all of the swarf in the oil. Might have provided some, but that's just down to oil contamination. Two sun gears, there's some evidence that something's been sat there for a long time. But other than that, and the teeth are all looking in good order. A little bit of wear on them, but nothing spectacular. Nothing spectacular. It's been sitting there for some time because there is some rust on it. And this is why I need to give it a damn good clean out, because right there is a fucking great lump of metal again. Two adjusting wheels on the ends, no issues at all. Got the two bearing caps, they're both fine. Obviously when you're taking these things apart, you've got to mark them. So the bearing caps are machined to each side. So I've marked these up somewhere. Yeah, A. That's got an A on it. And on the cap over here, that says B, so A is on the other side. Now, the crown wheel, I've been over it. You can see the amount of crap that's in there, if I kind of reflect the light. I've not been over it properly yet and given it a thorough clean. But I can't see any real damage to the teeth. Again, no reason as to why it might have self-destructed. The pinion has got very, very light damage just on here where I was pulling the bearing off it. Nothing serious, just a mark on one of these trailing edges, but they don't mate down there. Nothing particularly nasty there, it all looks healthy. Extension, the flange, that's fucked. Needs to be one of those, but they're available. That's quite common, because all they really do then is just chew the they chew the seals up. And then each of the bearings, I mean, I'd never reuse these bearings because I just don't know how much swarf is in there if I was going to rebuild this diff, so I just build it up around new Timken bearings. But how do these bearings feel? That one's got a bit of a shrill to it. But when I ran it in the carrier, where is the carrier? There. Oh, it's got some age to it, the bearing, but it's not nasty. And then when I was looking at the bearing seat, you can see here how the bearing's not been wearing evenly, and I think that's because of things like that, which is a piece of swarf that's got embedded into the surface of the carrier, and the other one's probably a little bit worse than that. Here we are. And again, all this is just contamination in the oil. So as far as root cause is concerned, I've not found anything. I found a differential that is in a complete state, has not self-destructed, has had contaminated oil in it, and whether I rebuild it around new bearings or go for a used oil stock diff, I don't know yet. There are shims and things, by the way, when you take these things apart. This isn't an instruction video on how to take these things apart. I'll do that when I put this, if I put this one back together, I'll do that. But I think, in all honesty, what we've got here is a good diff that went into contaminated oil. Weirdly. Don't know. Answers on the postcard, please. And there was, as you've seen with the crown wheel, there's an incredible amount of contamination in there, and it would never have improved. And ultimately, it would just worn the bearing down. See, that has suffered. It's not the end of the world, but it's suffered. And I think, actually, if I look on the inside of the cage, where that seats, yeah, in there it's suffered badly. Get a cloth and clean that out. See? Now, it's like a surface of a 78 RPM record. So I suspect it's a bit too tight, this. Get there. So that one went there. You can see it's only got one line on it, as has that, and that one with loads of lines on it went at the other end. And again, I've not really cleaned out in here, but I can see swarf all round. So fair chance an OK diff has been rendered scrap purely because someone logged in and didn't clean the diff casing out. Now, if the chrome wheel and the pinion are good, then those two are a matched pair. They normally have numbers on the end. There we are, 58532. There's no undersized or oversized markings on it. It's a standard pinion. You have to set the height of the pinion. And then the crown wheel should be marked the same, 8532. That's matched pair. They are a matched pair. Happy with those. Oh dear, oh dear. What to do, what to do, what to do. Today, I've been sorting out the electrics. I've got a Land Rover 2.5, I think it's Defender 2.5 normally aspirated ignition switch available online. That came complete with the right electrics. I've had to put a terminal post in there because there's just too many brown wires. I'll insulate that properly. The battery's not connected at the moment. And I was just about to install the ignition switch. Bugger! I put the fucking steering column in upside down. What a tool! In my defence, Land Rover, the steering lock operates on the underside. Range Rover, I should say. Range Rover Classic operates on the underside. And on the Series, of course, it's on the top. Oh, darn it all. Yes, we've done quite a bit of swearing. Now, to fix, because obviously it needs fixing, let me just step onto, I need the steps now, you see. To step onto the steps. Not that it's had a massive lift, just that I've got all the wheels and everything off. Undo those two pinch bolts up there, and probably just remove the clamp as well. And I should be able to, if I can access the 4 bolts on here, slide the box down, undo the 4 bolts, rotate the shaft, do the 4 bolts up again. I'm going to have to take the box off the car in order to do this because I just do not want to risk causing a problem. And the issue I've got there is the pedal box is still in the place, and I've put all of these things back in. So I'm going to have to take all of the mountings out in order to do this. I don't think I can get to that bolt down there, you see, not reliably. And the danger is if I just twist it while it's in the car here, there's a danger that I might just tear the gasket. So yeah, great. Good work, Richard. You're going to have to take it out again. And yeah, quite. You can't charge for the work either, because it's you what fucked it up. Oh, what a ball's ache. Again, if that fucking pedal box had not been siliconed in, I could have moved the pedal box, slid the pedal box, slid the... Fuck it. Mr. Sweary. Yeah, we did have quite a bit of swearing earlier on. Quite a bit. Quite a bit.